The news says the economy is growing. Your grocery receipt says it is crashing. In 2026, both of these things will be true at the exact same time. And if you don't understand why, your savings are going to be the fuel for someone else's fire. Let's start with a number that is going to be plastered all over the headlines for the next 18 months. 3.3%. That is the IMF's prediction for global growth in 2026. It sounds nice, doesn't it? It sounds safe. It sounds like you can just park your money in an index fund, go to sleep, and wake up richer. But here is the street smart truth. That number is a lie. Not because the math is wrong, but because averages are dangerous. Think about it like this. If you put your left hand in a bucket of ice water and your right hand on a hot stove, on average, your temperature is comfortable. In reality, you are in agonizing pain. That is exactly what the 2026 economy is going to look like. We are entering a split screen economy. On one side of the screen, you have the freezer. That's the physical world of shipping containers, oil barrels, and imported goods. That side is getting hit with tariffs, trade wars, and geopolitical friction. It's freezing up, and it's going to cost you more money just to exist. On the other side, you have the stove, the AI boom, the tech sector, the digital economy. That side is running hot, creating massive wealth for a very specific group of people. The problem is most people have their expenses in the freezer and their income in the freezer. They are paying more for gas and groceries, while their wages stagnate. The IMF's 3.3% is just the average of the people getting rich and the people getting crushed. If you don't want to be the statistic that drags that average down, you need to stop looking at the headline number and start looking at the split screen. You need to know which side of the divide your money is sitting on right now, because the middle ground is disappearing fast. Let's talk about the freezer side of the equation first, because this is the part that's going to hurt your wallet every single time you swipe your card. We are entering an era of heavy protectionism. Nations are putting up walls. Tariffs are the new normal. Now, politicians will tell you tariffs are about protecting jobs or national security. That might be true on a geopolitical level, but for your bank account, a tariff is just a fancy word for a sales tax that you didn't vote for. Imagine you call an Uber. Usually it's $20, but suddenly it's raining, it's rush hour, and the driver has to take a detour because the main bridge is closed. That ride is now $40. That is surge pricing. In 2026, tariffs are going to apply surge pricing to your entire physical life. The copper in your pipes, the chips in your car, the avocados in your fridge. They all have to cross borders that are becoming harder to cross. Every time a product hits a border check, a fee is added. By the time that product gets to your doorstep, those fees have compounded. You are going to see this in what I call the sticker shock of 2026. You'll go to buy a new washing machine or a car, and the price will be 15% higher than it was 2 years ago, even though the technology hasn't changed. That extra 15% isn't inflation in the traditional sense. It's the cost of the trade war being passed directly to you. If your portfolio is heavy in companies that rely on moving physical boxes across angry borders, you are holding a leaking bucket. You are betting on the side of the economy that is fighting gravity. The friction is high, the margins are getting squeezed, and the consumer, that's you, is left holding the bag. We need to identify these dead money zones in your life and get your capital out of there before the surge pricing becomes permanent. So, if the physical world is getting more expensive due to trade wars, where do you hide? You have to go to the side of the screen that creates velocity. You have to look at the stove. This is where the artificial intelligence boom stops being a buzzword and starts being a survival strategy. I want you to stop thinking about AI as chatbots that write poems or robots that make art. That is the toy version. That is the distraction designed to keep you scrolling. Clear that out of your head. The tool version, the one that matters to your money in 2026, is pure, unadulterated productivity. It is the only force powerful enough to fight the gravity of rising costs. Here is the street smart logic. We know the tariffs are coming. That is the surcharge we talked about earlier. If tariffs make your daily life, your gas, your lumber, your imported electronics 10% more expensive, you are mathematically guaranteed to get poorer unless you find an investment that makes things 20% more efficient to offset the loss. That is the only math that works. You can't outsave a 10% hike in living costs by skipping your morning coffee. You have to out-earn it by owning the efficiency. AI is the only sector in the global economy right now that is deflationary. It does more with less. Think about it. A traditional company, let's say a furniture manufacturer, is fighting a nightmare scenario in this trade war. They are trying to get timber across a border, paying tariffs on the screws, and paying higher wages for the drivers. Their costs are spiraling up. They have no choice but to charge you more just to break even. Their margins are getting crushed. And if you own their stock, your wealth is getting crushed with it. Now, look at the other side of the trade. Look at a company deploying enterprise AI. They aren't moving atoms, they are moving bits. While the furniture guy is stuck in customs, the AI integrated company is deploying an autonomous agent to do the work of 10 junior analysts for the cost of a monthly subscription. That isn't just tech progress. That is an economic miracle. It means while the cost of stuff goes up, the cost of intelligence and work crashes down. Let's get concrete. Take a logistics firm in 2026. Without AI, they are bleeding cash. Fuel costs are up, drivers are scarce, and tariffs are hitting their truck parts. They are the old economy. Now, look at a competitor who went all in on the stove. Their routing is optimized by an AI system that saves 15% on fuel instantly. Their back office paperwork bills of lading, customs forms, payroll is handled by AI agents, cutting administrative overhead by 40%. The first company is drowning in the surcharge. The second company is profitable, fun despite the surcharge. Which stock do you think protects your retirement? Which company survives the year? Think of the economy as a boat in rough waters. The trade war is punching holes in the hull. That's the water coming in, the rising costs, the inflation eating your paycheck. If you are sitting in the cargo hold holding cash or owning old school companies that rely on cheap imports, you are going to drown. The water is rising faster than you can bail it out, but AI is a massive turbo engine strapped to the back of that boat. It is the only thing generating enough thrust to overcome the drag of the water. If you own a piece of the engine, the boat creates enough speed to keep you afloat. Actually, it does more than keep you afloat. It lifts the hull out of the water. In 2026, you cannot afford to be passive. You cannot afford to have your money parked in safe assets that are actually sitting ducks for tariff inflation. You need to own the companies that are selling the efficiency. You need to be the landlord of the digital space, not just a tenant in the physical one. Think of it like this. The physical world is charging you a surge price because of the geopolitical friction. The digital world is offering you a discount because of AI scaling. If your portfolio is 100% physical retail stocks, transport, commodities, you are paying the surge price on everything. If you shift to the engine, you are collecting the toll on the efficiency. This isn't about speculation or gambling on the next hot crypto coin. It is about finding the only asset class capable of outrunning the surge pricing of the physical world. If your portfolio doesn't have this engine, you are just sitting in a leaky boat waiting for the water to reach your neck. Don't let the water reach your neck. Now, we have to talk about where this leaves you, the person standing in the middle of this tug of war. This is the most dangerous place to be. The IMF might be celebrating 3.3% global growth, but that number is a trap. It is an average that hides the violence happening on the ground. Think of it like this. If you put your left hand in a bucket of ice water and your right hand on a hot stove, on summary average, your temperature is fine. But in reality, you are in agony. That is the economy of 2026. On one end, you have the government pulling with tariffs, trying to make things expensive to protect local industries. This is the stove. On the other end, you have tech giants pulling with AI, trying to make things cheap and automated. This is the ice. You are the flag in the middle of the rope. And what happens to the flag in a tug of war? It gets stretched until it tears. This is the middle class squeeze of 2026, and it hits your bank account in two very specific ways. First, look at the tariff tax. This isn't just political noise on the news. It is a hidden surcharge on your daily survival. When trade walls go up, the price of everything involving imported steel, chips, or chemicals spikes. You go to the hardware store to fix a leak, and the parts are 20% more expensive than last year. You go to buy a new fridge, and the price tag makes your stomach drop. That is the government pulling the rope. They are effectively exporting inflation directly into your living room. Second, look at the I deflation. While your costs are going up, the value of average human labor is being pulled down. Tech giants are deploying systems that don't just assist workers, they replace tasks entirely. If you work in a field like data processing, basic coding, or mid-level administration, you are competing against a software subscription that costs $50 a month and never sleeps. That is the tech industry pulling the rope. So here is the nightmare scenario for the unprepared saver. You are stuck in the dead zone. If you have a traditional job in a vulnerable industry, say retail, logistics, or administrative support, and you keep your savings in a traditional bank account, you are getting crushed from both sides. Your cost of living goes up because of the trade war, the freezer, and the security of your income goes down because of automation, the stove. You get the inflation on your grocery bill, but you don't get the growth in your paycheck. This is why you feel poor, even when the GDP is up. The system is designed to squeeze the passive participant. Most people try to solve this by just working harder. They try to pull back against the rope. They pick up a second shift, they cut coupons, they skip vacations. But listen to me, you cannot outwork a trade war, and you certainly cannot outwork a microchip. That is a losing math equation. You are bringing a knife to a nuclear fight. The street smart move is to stop being the flag. You need to step off the rope entirely. This requires portfolio triage. You need to look at your financial life and ruthlessly categorize every dollar. Is this money sitting in a blast zone, like a savings account earning 4%, while real inflation hits 7% because of tariffs? Or is it in a growth zone? You need to position your life so that when the government raises tariffs, you don't care because you aren't buying imported junk. You are invested in the domestic producers who profit from those tariffs. And when AI takes over an industry, you don't panic because you aren't competing with the bot. You own the stock of the company selling the bot. The productivity gains from AI are the only life raft strong enough to float you above the rising cost of living. You have to move from being the victim of the squeeze to being the beneficiary of the tension. It's a mindset shift from how do I survive this month to how do I position myself so that every pull on that rope puts money in my pocket. So how do we actually do this? We use the favorite tool of our old friend, the late Charlie Munger, Inversion. When Charlie wanted to solve a difficult problem, he wouldn't ask, how do I succeed? He would ask, how do I guarantee failure? And then he would avoid doing that. So let's play that game for 2026. How do you guarantee you go broke in this split screen economy? It is actually terrifyingly easy. Step 1. Keep all your money in cash. Let it sit there while the tariff tax, that hidden surcharge, hitting everything from your morning coffee to your home repairs, eats your purchasing power alive. You lose 4% to inflation. The bank pays you 1%, and you thank them for the privilege. Step 2. Rely entirely on a salary from a blast zone industry. I'm talking about retail logistics, traditional manufacturing, or anything that depends 100% on cheap, frictionless cross-border trade. When those supply chains snap, your paycheck is the first casualty. Step 3. Spend your disposable income on physical goods that are target practice for trade wars. Go buy that new imported car or the latest hardware. You are literally volunteering to pay the government's new bills. If you do these 3 things, I guarantee you will be poorer in 2026 than you are today. You'll be stuck in the losing half of the average, wondering why the 3.3% GDP growth headlines don't match your empty bank account. Now we just flip it. That is your roadmap. If holding cash is a guaranteed loss, you must hold assets. But be careful. You need assets with pricing power. Think of it like this. If shipping costs triple, does the company eat the loss or do they pass the bill to the customer? You want to own the company that passes the bill. You want the utility provider, the essential software. The business people cannot quit. That is how you make inflation work by force shy. You, not against you. If relying on an import-heavy job is dangerous, you need to grab the AI life raft. You upskill into the digital economy where productivity is exploding. You move from the side of the economy that moves heavy boxes to the side that moves data. If buying physical goods is a tax trap, you shift your consumption. You fix the old car instead of buying the new one. You buy services instead of stuff. Why? Because tariffs tax atoms They don't tax experiences. A local service or a digital subscription doesn't get held up at customs. You stop feeding the tariff machine. This is what I meant by highbrow logic, lowbrow packaging. You don't need a PhD in economics. You just need to look at what the losers are doing, standing in the freezing cold waiting for a price drop that isn't coming, and walk the other way. Inversion reveals the path. It clears the fog. We are down to the wire. The trap, the 3.3% lie, the players, the tariff freezer, and the AI stove. Now, I'm going to give you the rebalance protocol. This is your homework. This is how you survive 2026. Phase 1 is triage. Tonight, look at your expenses and your investments. Identify the blast zones. These are things highly sensitive to trade wars, foreign car manufacturers, fast fashion retailers, companies that ship heavy boxes across oceans on thin margins. If you own them, ask yourself why. They are swimming upstream. Phase 2 is the offset. You need to position a portion of your capital in the AI infrastructure. I'm not talking about gambling on the next hot app. I'm talking about the pick and shovel plays, the chip makers, the data centers, the energy companies that power the data centers. These are the entities selling the tickets to the future. They get paid whether the economy is hot or cold because everyone needs efficiency. Phase 3 is the sleep test. This is the most important rule of all. If you are half asleep scrolling on your phone at 2 a.m., worrying about the price of gas or the security of your job, your portfolio is wrong. A good strategy is boring. It protects you. It works while you sleep. The split screen economy is coming whether you like it or not. The politicians will build their walls and the engineers will build their robots. You cannot stop them, but you can choose not to be crushed between them. Don't be the average. Be the exception. I'll see you in the next one. If you want to see the exact blast zones I am avoiding in 2026, check the breakdown in the pinned comment. Don't get caught in the freeze.